Alright, let's do this. Crystal Chamber. Let's start with some pretty basic explanation as we're going through. First things first, QTE, where it makes us choose between skill 1 and skill 2. So this is like a new mechanic that they introduced. So if we hit skill 1 here, the boss will do a debuff instead to us, and this is basically a permanent debuff. So the main solution for that is to have like another unit that will cleanse that debuff. Coco and Christmas Mika, or which I think this next one is where majority of the people will do instead, is they're gonna hit this skill too, and then they're just gonna have a unit that does a lot of hits. So typically it will be shotgun or machine gun. SMG is also good, and basically based on the number count of hits, that rock is gonna be destroyed. And then the boss will continuously spawn these parts, and all you have to do is just keep destroying it as they pop up. Oops, I actually accidentally killed it. I was explaining too much and I was not holding too much. So yeah, at the beginning, there's gonna be parts that's gonna spawn. You gotta destroy them. So those are the main important thing. Plus, and the boss is gonna do this after a while, is this shield. And this QTE can only be damaged by electric units. So if you don't do it, boss is gonna do AoE. Presumably in challenge mode, that's probably like a wipe, right? And another thing is another QTE here, which, you know, presumably if you fail this, it's gonna be another wipe. Yeah, the boss is gonna AoE. That's probably likely wipe on challenge mode too. Okay, so he gets into phase 2, and basically just in general, he feels like just a lot more aggressive. He's gonna spam these like missiles, and you can actually use them units to just like attack and actually intercept those missiles also. But in general, it just feels like a lot more fast-paced, but it feels just overall the same as phase 1. Just the same mechanics. Doesn't feel like it really changed anything, but he's just doing them a lot more often. And the boss will target the highest attack unit intermittently. So whoever is the highest attack at like a certain point, the boss targeted Scarlet earlier because I had stacks, but then normally my Modernia, without, if Scarlet doesn't have stacks, then my Modernia should have a higher attack. That's basically the boss. So here's the few things. I think that laser is gonna hurt a lot. So chances are we're gonna mainly need a healer on the laser and possibly the AoE missiles. So this missile, he's gonna start off with that. That's probably gonna hit a lot on challenge mode. So we might need a healer for those laser, because he's gonna keep doing that over time. So, and if you're constantly only have like one highest attack unit, then you're likely going to be eating up that damage. So unless you got someone with lifesteal like Alice who has your highest attack, or just a healer in general, then that is probably the choice. Now here's another thing that I want to point out. You can actually have your shotgun team actually deal with it. They actually have enough to actually destroy that. And the thing is, that big rock is basically 500 hits, and you'll be able to actually destroy that rock. You have to think about how many hit counts does your team have if you want to start dealing with that rock. And in this situation, we have Tove and Leona, which do help out a lot for shotgun team comms. And actually, I've tested it where I put in Tove with Guilty, and then Volume with Leona, and then like both Privity Maid and Summer Anise. And actually, you don't need both of them. You can actually just deal with it with just like either or. So either Tove and then like 3 shotguns, or like Volume and Leona and then like the other 2 shotguns, and it actually works out just fine. So it is actually possible to deal with that with just these. Then I got Biscuit for a healer, and also just like another buffer for Anise when she's bursting. Yeah, that's pretty much like the boss fight, right? Like, it's pretty simple. Obviously we don't know how challenge mode is gonna be. That challenge mode might be tricky. Just looking at the basics boss skills that it's doing, it doesn't seem that bad. So a little bit more about this upcoming thing where you choose between skill 1 and skill 2. So if you do end up doing this where it's the hits, right? In general, here's your hit count. SG is 1.5 shot per second times 10 pellets, so it equals 15 per second. And then you have AR, which is 12 per second, and then you have SMG, which is 20 per second. Is MG, which is at 60 per second. So, and then ignore the rocket, sniper rifle, and rocket launch. Depending on where this projectile is trajecting is how long this thing is gonna be, and it takes about between 8 to 10 seconds. On the left side it's like around 7-8 seconds, and then on the right side, if the projectile is traveling to the right side, it takes 10 seconds. So what you should be looking is 500 divided by it. On the safe side, I would divide it by 7, so we need 71 shots in. So in that situation, then you kind of want to add up all of these. Your goal is to get 71 shots per second in total with the cumulative of your units. Yeah, 1 MG plus whatever is pretty much like gonna solve pretty much everything in it. But you could do something like this where it's like, oh, 2 MG, 3 AR, something like that. Or yeah, 4 AR and 1 SMG doesn't feel as right. So 12 times 4, 48 plus 20, 68. And as you can see, it fell flat short. So it was kind of rough. Now, it is possible if you do keep resetting on the right side, right? So, and keep hoping that the trajectory of the thing is going to the right side. So then you have 10 seconds, and maybe I'll go with 9. So it's 55. So it would actually be possible if it is going to the right side. But yeah, so they gave us an option to decide between either tanking the debuff or doing the hit count. But I actually think that a good number of people would actually go with the hit count, just because like the highest DPSs you can kind of get away by just, it feels like just doing mechanics more, just like trying to get that hit count limit. Now obviously it's gonna be varying from account to account, because like, okay, maybe they don't just have the units enough SMGs or ARs or machine guns that are invested well enough to deal with that. Then there's Coco, there's Mika to deal with the cleanse. And yeah, I mean, it's not like there's only one solution to it on a per account basis, but it's gonna vary again from account to account. But I just think that majority of the people can build up a team with enough hit count without sacrificing too much damage. Well, in any case, here's kind of like just my planned in mind team compositions. So with team 1, I kind of have the Litter Naga team comp with Ludmilla as the primary DPS and machine gun here that will help out with the hit count. And then for this middle one, which is going to be my fast charger, it will be Maxwell. Red Hood is another option that we can entertain, so it's going to be flipping up between the two of them. I'm going to have to see which one will actually come out on top overall, and by moving this, because if it's not here, then Maxwell could end up being here, but then yeah, she doesn't really benefit the other two as much because they have like high attack multiplier here. So that's something that might happen, and which comes up as my team too. So I have like Red Hood here alongside with 2B and Guillotine using Novel, and I am hoping that a 2B can tank like the whole thing, and it's gonna help out with Guillotine because Guillotine is gonna have like high attack with low HP, but then typically 2B has higher attack. Now for some people that have low investment on 2B, then there is a chance that Guillotine will end up like having higher attack for the beginning until 2B ramps up after she keep bursting, where she gains a lot more HP. That comes another is our team 2, and the team 2 that I kind of have planned right now is Scarlet in here as our electric unit alongside with the bunny girls, and then Modernia as our machine gun to help out with the hit count on that. The one downside on this team is it doesn't have like a fast charger, but the way I would do it is I would set up with Volume, Blanc, and Noir with Quantum Cube so that it will help out with the fast charging energy for burst. And then the next one is in this one. Alright, so this is a very funny team, but that's because I wanted to put this with the Naga team, but then I feel like it's pretty much like it's hard because you don't have like a fast high hit count unit in there if I put in Scarlet and Alice in here, and so they're kind of on their own. So here's the ideal though, you kind of are hoping that Alice has the higher attack, kind of want her to be the higher attack so that the crystal chamber, when it's doing the missile thing, it will target Alice because Alice has a lifesteal. So this is kind of like a rather very situational comp. It's gonna vary from account to account, and I don't think this is actually a solution for everybody, assuming that we need the healer that hard. If we don't end up needing a healer that hard, then maybe this team would actually be fine. And yeah, we have Rosanna because we need electric to deal with the shields, and we hit count also. And then finally, we have our shotgun team. I already showed you that they can destroy that. 4 supports here and 1 attacker, and attacker does get healed. And the crystal chamber is actually gonna target Privity because she is the attacker and these others are supporters, so they would have, so she would have higher attack, base attack by default. But yeah, this team covered the hit rate, the electric requirement, and then there's a possibility of the healer if necessary. Yeah, so I guess if it doesn't work out for other people, then they could do a noise healer and then a Mika, yeah, for the cleanse, or Coco or Mika for the cleanse. Ideally Mika because Mika does have attack buff, so that will work out, yeah. And maybe, hey, maybe if you don't have noise, maybe you had more on too. Who knows? Like maybe that will work out as her as a tank. But yeah, those are kind of like my planned teams. In any case, I'm actually excited because this team might actually not necessarily be using the Snow White team. It is possible to use the Snow White team. It's just that it feels like it's too scuffed because it's not taking advantage of other things, and I feel like there's other things that might be lacking if we end up like using Snow White, because we have to have like the hit count or the cleanse, and then we need to have the electric also, so you need to have that, and then you need, I don't know if we end up needing a healer. So if we do end up needing a healer, then that might actually screw things up. But if we don't end up needing a healer, then something like this might work out. So I actually think that this might be one of the solo raids where we might actually not end up using Snow White, just because we have a lot more DPS right now, and also not to mention the shotgun team is pretty good now also. That will save us. The biggest thing about it is we are saving Dorothy for another team, and that's probably one of the biggest things that we are lacking in Team 5 is having a good strong burst one. And in this situation we actually managed to have Tove, which is like pretty very huge for shotgun teams. Even though that she does increase the ammo capacity, having Summer Anise, for Summer Anise it will int a little bit of Summer Anise's like potential damage. The overall damage is still better. But yeah, that's Crystal Chamber. I can't wait to see what we have in stock for challenge mode, but that's kind of like my initial theory on the teams right now.